Dandavat pranams, dear devotees. Thank you, Prem Vilas Prabhu, having us in your home. Beautiful conservatory here, right? Newly manifested, if I'm correct, right? All the devotees, Pundrikaksha Prabhu, Ramananda Prabhu, Sudevi Prema, Pran Kishore Prabhu, Tarun Prabhu, Prabhujis, Matajis, Hare Krishna, please accept my pranams. First offering my pranam to my most beloved Guru Pad Padma, Paramaradhyata Mastotra Rata Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Shri Gurudev, to the entire Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga. To all Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, please accept my Dandavat pranams. When we took sannyas in Vrindavan, I was there with 9 of my god brothers and senior devotees. The Vaishnavas said, don't think you are now very aged and senior, think now you are newborn babies. We're just transcribing this lecture from the Vaishnavas, where they were describing how happy Guru Maharaj is when, naturally when someone is born into a family, everyone's joyful. So I want to also pray that you accept me as like a little baby amongst your company. Right? Every stage of spiritual life is like a new birth, right? Letting go of something old and adopting something new. But children, small children, all get affection from not just mother and father, but uncles, aunties, grandparents. And so, very fortunate to be here with you all, dear friends, devotees, doing a quick little darshan of all the holy places of UK where Guru Maharaj has been present and other Vaishnavas have all traveled. So we did Brighton first, right? Gurudev went there, I'm sure, right? Srila Prabhupada also? Brighton, Birmingham, and then Oxford here, and then tomorrow London. Birmingham, we spoke about the glories of Srila Gurudev in relation to this beautiful verse, Hey Shri Guru Gyanada Dina Bandhu Swananda Data Karunaika Sindhu Vrindavanasina Hitavatara Prasiddha Radha Pranaya Prachar. And then in Birmingham, we were talking about the importance of these kind of Namhatta Sanghas coming together as devotees and remembering the glories of Srila Swami Prabhupada, also Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada, how much they serve to create this facility for us to practice bhakti everywhere. You know, one thing we don't really understand, now it's so easy, we have books everywhere and we have, you know, not just that, you can find it online, but actually at the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had to struggle for months and months and months to find Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now we kind of take it for granted, the Bhagavatam, Sandarbhas, all our books. You know, you can collect dust. But at least we have it like an altar. Books are like an altar also. You can dust them off, offer some flowers, like our temple also. What's the value of granthas? Not only that, but we see Bhaktivinoda Thakur not only manifested these books, but also published so many of his own books. And not only that, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur established over 600 Namhatta centers. He would go all throughout Odisha and Bengal, and he would make village leaders. In one village there would be a leader, and he would sometimes even, you could say, subsidize this. He would give them a bicycle, lanterns. At that time in Bengal, having a bicycle was like having a Rolls Royce. Bicycle. Why? Namhatta center leader. And he didn't do it in disorganized fashion. Okay, Namhatta leader of this village, this number, that place, and he would say, come together in Navadvip Parikrama. It was actually a very systematic approach to creating a strong, you could say, what he called Society of Sri Gauranga, Gauranga Samaj. Especially Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the visionary who created this idea in a very broad-minded way. Bhaktivinoda Thakur would say that we should consider all those who are at all favorable, in a little way even, to Mahaprabhu to be part of our family. Whether they are following completely, he said, whether even they believe him to be God or not, or a great devotee, or even a great reformer, whether they follow the angas or limbs of bhakti or not, we should consider them to be part of our spiritual family, right? What to speak of devotees who have slight differences, this group, that group, this branch, that branch, this twig, that twig. How can we develop a mood of friendship for all devotees? And then we see, last night we also talked about Srila Swami Prabhupada, that we are sitting here today in the West practicing bhakti by his great mercy, right? We sing this bhajan, Parama Karuna Bahudvijan Nitai Gaura Chandra. The most munificent, the most merciful Nitai Gaura Chandra, right? What is their Parama Karuna? We talked about this. Hey Shri Guru Jnana Dadina Bandhu Swananda Data Karunaika Sindhu. The expansion of the mercy of Shri Krishna is Guru Pad Vadma. And so Srila Swami Prabhupada, he is not just for one group or another group, for ISKCON, but not for Gaudiya Math, for all devotees. He is our Bhagavat Guru Parampara Acharya. This is not according to group affiliation. This is everyone. We owe this great sense of gratitude to the lotus feet of Srila Swami Prabhupada, who is like non-different expansion of Lord Nityananda. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 1, verse 26, I believe, maybe not exactly, but he writes in his purport that Guru Pad Padma is manifestation of Lord Nityananda, and also sometimes just Lord Nityananda, but oftentimes in this Gaudiya line he says they're in the mood of the maidservants of Srimati Radhika. Prabhupada writes this in his purports. And so we were talking last night a little bit about how Srila Swami Prabhupada, we see all over the world how he established such beautiful temples. And there he has such beautiful deities of Radha Krishna, Jagannath and Gornitai, but especially Radha Krishna, how much they're served with so much beauty and love and sweetness. Especially, you can see that the way they're offered flowers. Many temples in the West, you find many Hindu temples. The temple is very beautiful, right? But the deities are like in a glass case. There's no sweetness, this like affectionate worship like we see in Srila Prabhupada's established centers. How much love, this love of his transfers to the hearts of his followers and disciples, and they continue to carry this legacy on. Without his love, and without him establishing this culture of beautiful worship of the deities with affection, not just with opulence, right? Flowers, they're the highest opulence, right? You buy a necklace and jewelry, but you buy it once, you can always wear it. But in the West, even in India, I know I'm very good friends with a lot of the pujaris, and Krishna Balaram, head pujari in Vrindavan temple. Sometimes they spend 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs just on flowers in a festival, right? So what's the greater opulence than this? Why? You wear it, and then after 2 days, you have to take it down. And then the deities every day, beautiful garlands. So this is his love. This is called Braj Bhakti Ras. So we shouldn't think Swami Prabhupada also doesn't have this mood of love of the Brijabasis. He is Brijabasi Acharya, right? We should gradually try to understand the inner nature of Guru, not just the outward appearance. Like we generally see everything in this world by external vision. Right? We're all sitting here together and there's the structure here. But the Atma, or the soul, is something very subtle and fine. Even beyond subtle. Chit, what is transcendental, not material. So Guru, if anything, is transcendental. This pure devotee of Krishna, he is transcendental. But it is described in Sastra, a prakrit vastu nahi prakrita gochar. A transcendental substance cannot be seen by material vision. So therefore, Guru Pad Padma appears in a way that we can perceive him, right? Because if he only, right, like Krishna is here in every atom, Paramatma is present, and everyone is present. But how do we see them? Therefore, Guru appears, manifest form of Sri Krishna, his mercy, Srimati Radhika, her mercy. But they appear in a form that we can see them, but yet we can serve this form that they appear in. But gradually we should try to understand the internal aspect. Right? We want to go from the Bahiranga nature to the Antaranga. From the external absorption to internal absorption. Therefore, we perform our sadhana. So, this is something in our like line of our Srila Guru Pad Padma. our understanding is, Srila Swami Prabhupada is our Bhagavat Parampara Acharya. This is for the whole world. Whether we accept it or not, whether everyone accepts it or not, this is the conclusive fact, right? Truth doesn't require our belief to be true, right? Doesn't require our acceptance either. But this is the fact. And the more we can understand that, then we can come into the line and serve and relish the sweetness of his mood and his love. It is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tar Pravartana. Without Krishna's Shakti, we cannot propagate Krishna consciousness. So what is that Shakti? Vina Krishna Shakti. Who is Krishna Shakti? Srimati Radhika, right? Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tar Pravartana. So Krishna Shakti Vina. Without Krishna Shakti, who is Krishna Shakti? Right? Mahabhava Surupatam Shiradha Thakurani. Right? Srimati Radhika is Krishna Shakti. So without her mercy, this Nam Sankirtan, Krishna consciousness movement could not be distributed all over the world. So we should understand Srila Swami Prabhupada to also have an intimate connection to Srimati Radhika. In his song in the Jaladut he wrote, Jadi Radha Kripa Habe. If I receive Srimati Radhika's mercy, then Krishna automatically is pleased. So he had that relationship. That's why everywhere he would go, he would sing Jai Radha Madhava, Jai Kunja Bihari, Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari. And meditating on his internal aspect, the Vaishnavas I had the fortune of living with in Braj and Mathura and Vrindavan for many years, 16, 17 years, under the guidance of Srila Gurudev. The Vaishnavas would always help us understand the internal mood and the internal reality of Guru Varga, right? This is something that we find in Gaudiya culture. Bhaktivinoda Thakur and his bhajans, he reveals his own swarup. Right? We can read the bhajans of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Why did he write it and publish it if he didn't want people to enter into that understanding in due course? Why did the Goswamis spend so much effort publishing their literature if they didn't want us to, at some point, read and practice under guidance of sadhus? Why do you write a book if you don't want anybody to read it? The question is, who's meant to read? Can you give her some seat? You want to sit on the couch?
That's fine.
Right? So spiritual life has levels of gradations, and we go according to our qualification. But really, we should understand that anything that our Guru Varga is doing is with a purpose, with an intention. So this is something that the Vaishnavas instructed me also. I was asking, over different days. I was there in Vrindavan for a week after taking sannyas. And what should be the theme of preaching and this and that. And they said, really what Guru Maharaj has come to give, you should continue to carry that message because this is his desire. You shouldn't think you are preaching. You are not the preacher. Right? We are carrying his message and trying to deliver his message. So what did he teach? Radha Pranaya Prachar. So he said, you should speak on these topics. Vilap Kusumanjali, Braja Vilas Tava, Radha Rashdhanidhi. These sweet pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So tonight we're not going to do that so much. Tonight I want to talk about how to practice bhakti in the West in household life, right? A little bit about this. And then tomorrow in London, we'll tell some Krishna Katha, Radha Krishna's pastimes. Yeah, why? Because on the plane from India, I was proofreading some lectures of Srila Gurudev and they were so sweet. I didn't want to stop, but then we arrived, so I thought, okay, one of these days we'll speak about this Katha. Gurudev talks about the very sweet pastimes of Braj, especially Ras Katha, and understanding a little bit the love of the Braja Gopis and how their love is the highest aspect, the highest reality of bhakti that we aspire to take shelter of. Right? That we must all ultimately come under their shelter. Whatever ras or relationship we have with Krishna, if we don't develop honor and respect for the Braja Gopis, entrance into Braja Dham, Braja Bhumi is not possible. Chaitanya Charitamrita describes this. Vina Shakir Anugatya. Without their shelter and their mercy, whatever ras we aspire for, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya, without the Braja Gopis, not possible. We must ultimately take shelter of the Braja Gopis and understand their position. Therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam manifested to establish this, right? Ved Vyas He wrote so many scriptures, so many Puranas, so many Upanishads, but he was still unsatisfied. So Narad Muni came, this is in the beginning chapters of the Bhagavatam. Why are you despondent? And Vedvyas said, you are my guru, you know my heart, you are Antaryami, you are the indwelling witness. He said, you have not fully described the sweet pastimes of Sri Krishna. Krishna's sweet pastimes, where are his leelas without the Braja Gopis, without Srimati Radhika? Therefore, Ras Panchadhyai, these are the 5 life airs of the Bhagavatam. The purpose of the Bhagavatam was to establish this, and the purpose of the Ras is to establish the glory of Srimati Radhika. Therefore, if we don't understand her position and her glory, entering into this mood of Braja Bhakti is not possible. We'll stay outside in some mood of Aishwarya, opulence, but it's like a cold, right? Wealth, Aishwarya, position, power, name and fame, but no sweetness, no softness, no Grita Sneha, no Madhu Sneha. Right? In Braj, we have these 2 sides. Grita Sneha means very thick affection, like thick ghee. When you get ghee on your cloth, it's not so easy to get out. On your hands, this kind of love and affection that's very thick and greasy. And Madhu Sneha, which is like honey, very sweet and very tasty. So how can we taste the sweet moods of Braj if we're only attracted to the moods of opulence? Right? The real opulence of Braj, like flowers, right? Like we described. Imagine how much money you spend decorating temples with flowers over so many years. Oh, I can just buy a nice stone cold jewelry once. And for hundreds of years we can use this jewelry. No need buying flowers. No need using chandan. No need using anything like that.
Plastic flower.
Right? Yeah. But then where's the softness and the sweetness and the love and affection? So Gurudev is in this mood, and our Swami Prabhupada established this also everywhere. So I want to talk a little bit about this point, because people sometimes ask this question: how can we follow spiritual life at home? What's the formula? I know you're all following very nicely, but sometimes it's good to reflect and consider different aspects. But we should think we don't have to reinvent anything. We just have to adjust according to appropriate measures according to our situation. Right? So Swami Prabhupada established the worldwide society, and he gave us our basic foundation and principles that we follow. So we follow like that. Our Guru Maharaj, the Gurudev, Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, he helped us refine our understanding, further develop in our mood of bhakti, help us understand the internal reasons for whatever we do. Like, for example, in our homes, we often have at least some pictures. If not full deity worship, then we'll have some pictures, and we'll do maybe some arti once a day. So Gurudev would teach us, why do we do the arti? Not just that we should do arti, but what is the meaning of the arti? What is the meaning of the incense? What is the meaning of the ghee lamp? What is the meaning of the flowers, the cloth? And why is this important? Because it helps us develop affectionate relationship. If you look at the internal aspect, it's all based on the mood of devotion. Right? Bhakti has 2 sides: the action, the kriya, and the bhav, the mood. So we can be doing the kriya, or the action, our whole life, but not enter the mood, and then we're bound to find love and affection in things of this world. Right? Because our love and affection, it's like a river, it has to flow somewhere. Kunti Devi prayed to Krishna, may my love and affection flow to you. So that's an internal thing. So sometimes we call bhakti a devotional activity, but we should also understand that bhakti means to love something, to adore something. So it's based on a mood. And when you really love something, then you naturally perform devotional service. So Srila Rupa Goswami gave us 5 essential limbs of bhakti, and we can practice this. And we generally see this is what's going on. So again, it's not reinventing the wheel. We're just speaking together about what's already been told and taught in our curriculum. So Rupa Goswami taught us this famous verse: Sadhu Sangha Nam Kirtan Bhagavat Shravan Mathurava Shraddhaya Sri Murtir Sevan. So the question is, how do we apply this in the West, in household life? Sadhu Sangha Nam Kirtan Bhagavat Shravan Mathurava Shraddhaya Sri Murtir Sevan. 5 aspects. Sadhu Sangha, some kind of devotee association. right? So there are different levels of sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha means coming together, like Namhatta programs. Anyone who has some little bit of love and affection or any mood of bhakti to Krishna, that is sadhu, right? Apichet suduracharo, bhajate mama nanya bhak. If they worship Krishna, even they may not be perfect, but Krishna says sadhu deva samantavya, accept them as a sadhu, as a devotee. And he tells Arjuna, Shipram bhavati dharmatma kunteya pratijaniya name bhakta pranashyati. You should declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. So we come together, and in our relationships, right, husband and wife, or whatever relationships we have, we try to encourage our devotional aspects with each other, right? Discuss, right? There's 6 kinds of exchanges, right? This means sangha. So the first limb that Rupa Goswami advised is sadhu sangha. So we could say, oh, sadhu sangha is only when a traveling preacher comes. But this is something that's supposed to be, you could say, anudinam, continuous. Krishna anushilanam, continuous bhakti. So we shouldn't, it's kind of like, there's 2 kinds of nyaya, logic, the kitten logic and the monkey logic. Baby monkey has to grab onto its mother, and then it goes anywhere. And the baby kitten just closes its eyes, and its mother picks it up by the scruff of the neck and moves it around. So with sadhu sangha and all these limbs, we should think, in our line, we follow both. Only baby monkey logic means we do everything by our own. But Krishna is so far, it's like trying to catch the moon. So we need mercy. So kitten logic means mercy. I'm a mercy case. We're all mercy cases or basket cases or a combination of the 2. Right? I'm a basket case. We want to be pagal. We want to be mad for Krishna. But we put on the show. We have to learn how to put on the show of, right, gentlemen. But really, we have to make some effort also. So sadhu sangha doesn't mean, oh, once a year, twice a year, 3-4 times a year, some preacher will come, some sannyasi or brahmachari will come, and then that's my sadhu sangha for the year. Right? There's 6 parts of sadhu sangha. Right? Priti lakshanam. Rupa Goswami says in the 4th verse of Upadeshamrita, Tadati pratigrinati guyamakyati prichati bunte bachayate chaiva sadvidam priti lakshanam. So our partners should be seen like devotees, and therefore we respect them. Doesn't mean we have to, like sometimes we say, oh, that person, they have pure devotee syndrome. You know? Pure devotee syndrome, oh. Right? Means some part of your day should be sacred, and during that time you practice bhakti. Some japa, right? Taking prasadam. You should make some part of your day sacred. This is our spiritual life. Not that we can imitate and pretend that we're Raghunath Das Goswami and 23.5 hours a day is in pure bhakti. But what can we do, right? We have to work, we have to do our jobs, this and that. But it's described, sadhu sangha means affectionate relationship. So in our partnerships, it's already meant to be based on love and affection. So in those relationships, the dati pratigrinati, we can give and share, right? Guyamakyati prichate, we can speak to each other confidentially. In this kind of relationship, naturally we can speak to each other confidentially. So Guyamakyati prichate means we should also do this with our devotional side. How can we gradually aspire to, we have to be vulnerable. That's why it's not meant to be public. Guyamakyati, guya means confidentially. Guyamakyati prichati, to ask, to inquire, to discuss, in a way that we can be vulnerable with what are our own anartas, what are we struggling, how are we developing. It's difficult in the West or in general. But this is something we can try to do. Guyamakyati prichati bhunkte bhajayate chaiva, right? Taking prasad together. It's sometimes hard. Oh, yeah, no problem. I'll eat now, you eat later. Or whenever you feel like it, whenever I'm hungry. But it's such a simple thing. Oh, just to put aside your phone and spend 15-20 minutes together sharing a meal. This is how you develop this is also one kind of sadhu sangha, right? Take responsibility, right? Be the change. Oh, someone will come twice a year and then I'll practice bhakti. Gurudev would always say, don't be weak when I leave. That means, right? We have neck beads, we have japa, we have tulsi, we have some pictures, we have deities at home, so we can practice bhakti. Some time of the day at least. Chant and japa, have some kind of progress diary or something. Bhaktivinoda Thakur would say we should all take stock of our spiritual life like an expert businessman. Why does he use this term businessman? Because we all know that we have to live. So we all have to be some form of businessman, right? In the West, without being a businessman, you can't survive. In India, in the ancient culture, nowadays it's even not so easy. Before, right now, even sannyasis, brahmacharis, we have to be like householders. Why? You have to maintain ashram, another ashram, other places. It's not that you can just sleep under a different tree every night. In some places in India, it used to be possible. Now maybe in some places in Braj it's possible, but it's not that easy. So we have to maintain our affairs, but we should also maintain our spiritual affairs. So a little bit of time we should be set aside, like I said, make a little bit of your time sacred. That's why it's described, if we can, Brahma Muhurta. If not Brahma Muhurta, then the next Muhurta. Right? Anything before the last of night Muhurta. Right? First Brahma Muhurta, then morning Muhurta, then late morning Muhurta, midday Muhurta, afternoon Aparan Kal Muhurta. Some part of the day. The best thing is, this is more difficult, more advanced, but every Muhurta is 3-4 hours or an hour and a half, 2 hours, even 5-6 minutes. In the month of Kartik, we sing these bhajans based on Shikshastakam. In New York, I did this course a few times. Also in Costa Rica, and some other places, Hawaii. All the Shikshastakam verses, the 8 verses, have corresponding songs by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and also corresponding leelas connected to Radha Krishna. And in the month of Kartik, in different mats, in different sanghas, they will sing the verse of the Shikshastakam, and they'll also sing the bhajan Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings about sadhana and also about Radha Krishna's pastimes. And then in between you can chant some Mahamantra, do Mahamantra Kirtan. And it takes like maybe 15-20 minutes for each section of the day. And it's very powerful. It always helps reset your mind. That where am I, where do I want to be? It's not so hard. We shouldn't think, right? We think that we're like physically limited by space and time. But in spiritual life, this is a different dimension. It's beyond the material dimensions. Space, time, dimension, all these things. It's beyond dimension. Right? The soul is that which you cannot measure. And spiritual life is that which you cannot measure. Right? I remember with different Vaishnavas, I think this was Tirtha Maharaj, Ban Maharaj before. I used to go to India every year when I was like 9, 10. And every year I would go, different devotees near Gurudev would ask me, did you learn this sloka? Did you learn that sloka? I remember Dvija Krishna Prabhu on the roof in Mathura, I was like 10, 11. Did you learn this one? Did you finish Upadeshamrita yet? Did you finish Shastram yet? Say this. So what does Maya mean? What does this mean? So the definition of Maya is Miyaya Naya Iti Maya. With our material mind, we're always trying to measure and calculate and limit things. But God is immeasurable, the soul is infinite, beyond our realm of understanding in material terms. So therefore, what should we do? We gradually try to. The point is that we're not limited by time and space if we practice sadhana and try to access the reality of the Atma, the soul. That's why in these 5 limbs, sadhu sangha, also we should endeavor to go into the association of higher Vaishnavas, Madhyam, Madhyamutam, Kanishta, any kind of Vaishnava we should see with honor and associate. Right, according to our stage, with our family members, with our communities, and also with, sadhus who are wise. People then say, okay, well, like people were making some questions. Oh, in Kali Yuga we shouldn't have sannyas, it's not proper, this is that. There's some allergy to it. Why? I remember when I was young, I was also afraid, I hope I don't ever become a sannyasi. Scary position. Right? They say spiritual life is like a razor's edge. Sannyas means it's a razor's edge with a microscope on you. Right? But there's also importance of this ashram to have a fully integrated, right? We say society, Daivavan ashram. All the stages, all the ashrams should be properly represented and regarded. But this kind of sadhu sangha is also helpful because it's Nivritta tarshe rupa giyamanad bhavosadat shrota manobirama ka uttama sloka gunanuvadad purman virajeta vinapa shugnat. Nivritta tarsha means, the actual idea of proper sannyasas means there's no mixture. your life is only one-pointedly dedicated to service, your internal sadhana, your internal spiritual growth, and also service to all the ashrams. Right? Everyone has their services to perform, but one of the main services in sannyasa is Krishna Katha, and if you can speak Krishna Katha without any material desire, right? That's why proper sannyas means you're not thinking, oh, how much will this person, if I do this, glorify here, if I say this to them, then maybe they'll give nice, sterling. Right? No anya, no desire for anything, only seva, sevanam bhakti ruchate, service. And no attachment to material affairs and material things. That's why sannyasa is one form of death in society. But we're all dead, and we all want to become alive beyond this world. That's also the idea of why sannyasa is important. To remind us, right? Sannyasa is like a reminder that ultimately we all have to renounce. By force, at the time of death, or before we die willingly at a certain point, we should just dedicate our mind and hearts and souls to the practices of realizing the nature of the self and relation with God. So we see in Vedic culture, grihastas would also retire, right? Retirement now means, right, retirement and then retire to the telly, telly guru, telly bhagavan, or this or that. Oh, I saved up my whole life so I can go to the Bahamas and this and that. That's retirement. But spiritual culture means retirement means retire from material affairs and practice spiritual life. So sannyasa is like that. It's like a reminder of our destiny. Either you must die by force, or before you die, you practice Krishna consciousness so that you don't have to again be born and die repeatedly in the cycle of miserable suffering in samsara. So, sadhu sangha, nam kirtan. We're all here together doing nam kirtan. Nam kirtan and nam hatta programs, right? That's more powerful sadhu sangha. Akela means, right, alone, how much strength do we have? But together, right, there's force, there's power in numbers. So we come together. So this is one problem in the West. Oh, how do we come together? There's so few of us. And then this group is different, and that group is different, and this group is different, and I don't know if they like this, and like this, and they like this. So therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur prescribed a very open, kind of liberal-minded approach of bhakti. I call it sometimes 21st century bhakti. Right? Anyhow, we should take the opportunity to come together. It's very interesting. We want to preach. We want to do interfaith preaching. But we can't do interfaith preaching. Interfaith preaching is good. I'll meet with a Christian and a Hindu and a Muslim and a Jew and this and that. We'll discuss. I know, because I do it like once a week. We have discussions on a group, HWPL. But with our own spiritual families that may have little tiny differences, we can't see beyond those things. Bhaktivinoda Thakur warns about this. He says this kind of sectarianism or party spirit is the great enemy of spiritual progress. Doesn't mean we have to give up our own ways, but we should also not be so attached. I have a friend, an old lawyer friend, and he says, I like you because you're not too crazy. Sometimes religious people, they're just crazy and you can't speak with them. It's like, why he said you should believe 99.99%, but if you believe 100% without any room for leeway in like details, like, oh, if you don't do this, like this, you're definitely going to hell. And I'll prove it. Right? Then how are we going to, practice properly? So my understanding is that we should see the good in others. Wherever there is aparad mentality, offensive mentality towards our guru or Vaishnavas, then we can have some respectful distance, no problem. But really we should come together and appreciate each other. And take the opportunity to have some programs together, right? Sadhu Sangha together. Nam Kirtan is two sides, right? Japa and Kirtan together. So Japa is very important, right? Mahaprabhu described that he was doing Sankirtan with himself and also with everyone. So this is in our daily life, we should take shelter a little bit of Harinam, however much we can. Our gurus usually establish the standard of 16 rounds. Swami Prabhupada, as we can practice more, we can do more. Or if we cannot do that much, maybe we're not initiated yet in Diksha or whatever, 4 rounds, 6 rounds, 8 rounds. But also that time, that is our sacred time. Gurudev would say, go hide somewhere and just chant and pray. Or if you can't do it alone, then do it together, like Prabhupada established in the temple room. Japa period, we have that in New York. We play Prabhupada's Japa Kirtan chanting, sometimes Gurudev, but mostly Prabhupada. Why? Prabhupada's very strong. Serve. Chant Harinam. Sit properly. We play Prabhupada's tape and we're all waiting. When's he going to say it? When's he going to say it? Hey, sit properly. Right? Spiritual life isn't a joke. Wipe that smile off your face. Chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And we should understand that we're not doing this to follow some kind of external worldly religiosity. What is our goal of life, and how can we gradually make steps forward towards that goal? This is very important. Like I said, if you're maintaining a household, I have to pay the bills, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to raise my kids, send them to college, have this, have that. So you have something you're working towards. So in spiritual life also, there's 3 stages, right? Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojan. Sambandha means relationship, right? Understanding your relationship with God, what you're trying to develop, and who is your family. And then Abhideya, what's the process? Prayojan, what's the goal? So Gurudev would say you should fix your goal, sadhya. What is your goal? Then you can understand what is the process to achieve that goal. So generally for us, we're all aspiring, if we're worshipping Radha Krishna, we're aspiring for entrance into Braj Bhakti Ras. Within that, there are different categories, right? Whether we aspire to serve like a friend of Krishna, like in the parental mood of affection for Krishna, or in the mood of the Braja Gopis, especially those under the guidance and shelter and service of Srimati Radhika. But anyhow, gradually we should progress and understand that spiritual life isn't meant to serve just the material affairs. Sometimes we think, generally in society, if you ask people, like I do a lot of interfaith talks, and they think, no, religion's very good because it stabilizes society. It creates a stable society, family life, nuclear family, this and that. But nowadays there's a lot of attacks against that. Why? Because it should also be challenged, right? People are, like left-wing and socialism, they're teaching against the nuclear family and against religion, against this. Why? It should also be challenged. Because why are you just using spiritual life in the service of the material? Gurudev would call this a brotherhood of thieves. That's how Gurudev described it. Hum bhi chup, tum bhi chup. He said this in Hindi. I won't say anything, you don't say anything. We'll make a pact that we want peace on earth. And so we should all work together nicely. But what are we doing in the meantime? Pap. So many sinful activities. We're bound to cause harm to someone. Right? Jiva jivasya jivanam. So really, material life, there is no perfect solution. Right? There's no perfect system. Whether it's this government or that, or whether it's the Tories or whoever else, the Labour, whoever it's going to be, there's always going to be problems. That's the nature of material life. But spiritual life isn't meant to just create a good material situation. Ultimately, it's to teach us we have to get out of this miserable material situation. Gurudev said this Kali Yuga is very great, danya, because it sucks, right? It's horrible, we're suffering. So it helps us realize that ultimately there is no solution. We have to ultimately do our own practice, our own sadhana, not try to make the world perfect. The world is perfect. Bhakti-Siddhanta Prabhupada would say, society, everything is perfect. We are at fault. Right? The situation is perfect. Right? Every situation is a great opportunity to advance in our spiritual life. If there were no obstacles, if everything was hunky-dory, rosy, this and that, then we would be lazy and we wouldn't want to progress. So anarthas and obstacles in society or in the individuals are very favorable. Yes, very good. Inflation should be higher. Gas should be more expensive. Right? Right? I should get bald faster. Why? We should suffer in this world. Very good. But we're not trying to, right? We see some people, they're all about, right? Self-flagellation, right? You see some kind of Christians, they would whip themselves, bloody. So we're in the path of sweetness, Braja Bhakti Ras. And whatever the material situation is, we should manage the best our affairs that we can, but really we should try to develop that internal sweetness and be a little bit aloof from this or that. Sometimes we get so caught up in it, you see like devotee chats, And how much are we talking about bhakti and how much are we talking about politics? And this, that, vax, no vax, COVID or not, flat earth or global earth. All these things are distractions, right? What is the shape of Vrindavan? What is the reality of Vrindavan? How can we progress towards Vrindavan? All these other things are just Maya. Who cares what color or shade or flavor of Maya it is? It's all Maya, right? So we want to go forward. And really, some of these things, okay, we can discuss with friends. It's like time pass, you know. Sometimes when you're traveling in India on a train, you get like a 2-day train journey. And so they bring you snacks, and it's called time pass. Buy some time pass. So, okay, a little bit of this, you know, politics, right? Otherwise, okay, you know, time pass, no problem. But we shouldn't be so addicted to it that we're ready to fight each other over it and spill blood. Ultimately, you know, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada would say, the world is perfect. We are not reformers. He said this very strongly. He said, don't think yourself to be like, oh, I will be Mahatma Gandhi II. I will reform the world. He said, the great reformers, they are sent by Krishna, and they are doing that work. So unless you have, you know, Krishna's on your pager, you know, or Krishna's on speed dial, and he's telling you do this, do that, then a little bit of, like I say in New York sometimes, you know, a little bit of humble tea in the morning, it's good for your health, good for your spiritual health. We say, oh, we know how to make apple pie, we know how to make pumpkin pie. We should learn how to make humble pie and eat it. Right? In the morning, make a tea bag and put some humble spice and drink it. A little bit of humility goes a long way, right? We need our spiritual pharmacy. And what are the different ingredients of that in the cupboard, right? A little bit of, Mahaprabhu teaches this. Trinadapi sunichena tororeva sahishna amanina amanadena kirtaniya sadahari. This verse is not just for, this verse is for all ashrams, all varnas. We should all try to develop humility. Humility doesn't mean you become a rug that everyone walks on. Right? Doesn't mean you become a pushover, right? Everyone pushes you over and you walk in it. No, but humility means an internal attitude, an internal state. That who am I, where am I, like I was saying the other day. People are saying, oh, now you're sannyasi, now you'll be so proud, you have to be wary of this pride, and watch out, pride. It's like the ghost of pride is in their mind. So everywhere they look, oh, pride, position, respect, you must be so proud. But if you're aspiring for something, I said, well, this is the remedy for pride. If you're aspiring for something sincerely and you don't have it, and you don't know how to get it, then automatically you'll become humble. So for us, we're aspiring for, under the direction of Srila Gurudev, you know, some of us, or whether or not, whatever mood of Braj Bhakti, but for some of Gurudev's children, he would say, Tavevasmi, najivami tvaya vina iti vigyaya devitam nayamam charanantike. I'm aspiring to become a particle of dust, the lotus feet of Srimati Radhika, to serve her. Achieve that loving service. So if you haven't achieved that and you want it and you don't know how you're going to get it, and you're praying for it and you're weeping, then how are you going to become proud? Pride means distance from bhakti. Right? If you're aspiring for genuine bhakti and development in this mood of bhakti, then pride is like, oh, Haribol. Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada writes something very nice. Kanaka kamani pratishta bhagani charyache jar seto vaishnava sena sakta sheshuddha bhakta vishaya samuda. It's described here that if we're always greedy for kanaka, wealth, kamani, right? Especially as sannyasi, oh, beautiful women and followers, pratishta and pride, prestige, name and fame, that means we're not Vaishnav. Chadaya chejar setu Vaishnav. If we can give that up, then we're a Vaishnav. So how can we give it up unless we're relishing or aspiring to relish something much higher? So Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada says that in this discussion, he said, pride, name and fame, popularity, wealth, women, followers, Maya will send everything to test us. You want. But at a certain point, if they see you're not interested, right, you're interested in something higher, then they'll say, okay, Dandavat Pranams, now we'll help. But we're not going to attack anymore. right? Like Swami Prabhupada, how many people, how much wealth, how many followers, how many, Gurudev would say, how many beautiful ladies, Gurudev would say, Vrindavan Vilasini, Shamrani Didi, you see, such beautiful ladies, right? There's videos of Prabhupada and Shamrani Didi is dancing. It's very famous, we're in Krishna Balaram every day, almost every other day or so, we go to Prabhupada's room, and they have this video on loop, and Kirtananda Maharaj is talking a little bit, and then it shows Shamrani Didi with her Swami step. Beautiful. And Gurudev would say, distributing books, attracting so many people. So this is great. But if we can internally aspire for that highest thing, then these worldly things are for us just like dust. Once there's a story of, Gurudev likes to tell this story, there was a husband and wife walking in the jungle. And they would go and collect wood and go and sell it and maintain their life. So once Narad Muni asked Vishnu, why are your devotees so poor? You are the husband of the goddess of fortune. All wealth is with you. And Lord Shiva is very poor. He's dressed in ash from the crematorium. But his devotees are very wealthy and your devotees are very poor. And Vishnu says, what can I do? I try to give them, but they don't accept. I try to give them, but they don't accept. And so Narad said, okay, let's go check. You know the story? It's a nice story. So Narad Muni and Vishnu went, and they hid behind a tree, and Narad said, okay, Vishnu, let's bring some nice things from Vaikuntha and put it on the path. What is nice thing? Oh, some gold, jewels, diamond, rubies, nice little pile. And they did it a few, right, in a curving pathway, they were up a few curves ahead. And so they put it there and they were hiding. Imagine, Vishnu with his forearms, and Narad Muni with his veena, right? Let's see what they do. And these two devotees, Grahasta couple, were walking along. The husband was walking a little bit ahead. The wife was a little bit behind, walking. And as the husband came around, he saw ahead something like shiny, sparkling. What was it? This little pile of jewels and gold and this. What are you gonna do?
Take it.
Take it. Why? A lot of seva. But that's the danger. You take it and then 60-40, 70-30, 80-20. Why? I have a lot to maintain also. I have to think about my future, my children's future, their children's future. So they were walking, Narad Muni and Vishnu watching from behind the tree. The husband looked back to see how the wife was about 20-30 paces back. So he walked forward, and very quickly with his feet, he covered it with dust. Right? So it was covered, leaves and dust from the path. So he covered it, he kept walking. But it took a little time, and so his wife was catching up, and she said, oh, dear husband, yes? He looked back a little shy, Why? He was thinking he was very clever. She's not that clever. This is male ego. I'm clever, she's not clever. Generally, wife is more clever. She has to maintain the whole kingdom, right? Whole household, everything. So she said, why are you covering dust with dust? Why are you covering dust with dust? That wealth we have, love for Krishna, we don't know. We take this, then how much it's going to cause us grief and problems. So whatever we have, we should be satisfied. We should try to maintain our families nicely. I'm not saying this is this is just a story that is there to say that even Krishna tries to give to the devotees, they don't want it without his service. Diyamanam nagridanti. There's another side of this. Well, there's Yudhisthira Maharaj. Yudhisthira Maharaj, Krishna asked him, you want a boon? He said, yes. What is that boon? I want to be very wealthy, and I want everyone to envy me. And they'll think, and Krishna said, what? Very strange. He said, yes, because everyone thinks your devotees are very poor beggars. So I want them to see that your devotees are also successful, qualified. But this success and qualification is only for Krishna. Therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives a prescription for family life. He says, Krishna sangsar koro chadi anachar jive doya krishnam sarva dharma sar. Krishna sangsar koro. Make everything centered on Sri Krishna. Krishna sangsar koro. That's why in home we have Thakurji. Right? That's the center of the home. Krishna sangsar. That's why in these 5 limbs, Sadhu Sangha, Nam, Kirtan, Bhagavat Shravan. What we're doing now is hearing Harikatha. Right? So we're chanting, we do japa, and we do some kirtan together, the family. I remember growing up, I have this the picture of my parents. I was like in red pajamas, like 2, 3 years old, and playing cartels, and we're doing arti. I had my parents were doing arti. We had a little community, right? So this is spiritual family life, right? This is called vanashram, daiva vanashram, spiritual vanashram. It's very important. You establish in, like you have this nice saying on your kitchen, right? It's not about what you teach the kids, it's about how you live, and they learn from you automatically. So this is important in family life. Show them spiritual culture. And not in a forceful way, but in a natural, loving way. That they, spiritual life ultimately is all an individual choice. So if you force it on people, then they're not interested, because we're all individuals, we're all free, especially in the West. Once we're 18, bye-bye. I'll maybe live nearby, or I'll call you sometimes, but I'm running my show. I'm living my own life. So you can't force your children to become devotees. You can encourage and lead by example. So, Shraddhaya Shri Murtir Sevan, with faith, have some service of the deities. That may be pictures, or little Gaurnitai, or Gopal, or Radha Krishna. But with faith, we do this. What does it mean with faith? Right? This faith means now we're Kanishta Adhikaris. Faith in the deities and worshipping the deities. Archyam eva haraye pujam ya shraddhaye natad bhakteshu chaneshu sabhakta prakritasmriya. If we have faith in Thakurji, that this is like God is appearing and giving me a way to make relation with Him through the deity. And as we develop in our understanding, it said the Kanishta sees the deity in this way. Madhyam has an intellectual idea that actually this is Krishna. He's appearing this way. The Uttam only sees Krishna. Pure devotee, Vigraha Natumi Shakshat Brajendra Nandana. The pure devotee only sees Krishna. But therefore the deity is very important, because even though God is everywhere, like Pavitra asked me this today, which was very smart. He said, why do you have this danda? I said, oh, this is like Narayan Swarup, according to Sastra. Vishnu is here, Narayan is here. He said, but Vishnu means he's everywhere. It's on it. Boom, Vyapnoti iti Vishnu. I said, wow, your dad must be teaching, or maybe your mom's teaching very nicely. God is everywhere. Yes, God is everywhere. But if we don't make some place for Him, it means we're not really interested in a relationship with God. So we make some space and we say, oh, please be in my life, be in my home. And in a very simple way, like Gurudev established Seva Kunj, the pictures, we keep those in our home. Right? It means I have some love for Gurudev, I have some love for his conception, I have some love. It's about love and affection, not about following some religious conduct and code, and otherwise I'll go to hell. Ultimately, we're in the path of Braj, means rag, attraction, attachment, affection, love, aspiring for something. Otherwise, if we're only in the path of, by force, rules and regulation, then pride and all these things are very difficult to conquer over. Not only that, kutinati, duplicity, hypocrisy, deceit, right? Manashiksha, 6th verse, he says, Sharan mutre snatva, why are you bathing in the donkey urine of deceit and hypocrisy, when you could be bathing in the divine nectar and love of Radha Krishna? So the danger of only following a regulative process without any aspiring for any kind of sweetness and love, Braj, is that we can get kind of our natural current of love, which we all have, can get perverted into what? Love of worship for ourselves, right? Love of wealth, love of material enjoyment, anarthas. So unless we, right, we're following by force bhakti. Oh, I'll ring the bell and I'll do arti. But wherever I have love, I'll think of that, I'll go there. So that's why I say a little part of our day we should try to make sacred. Make it sacred for Guru, for Krishna, for bhakti. And, gradually, that'll protect you and help you go forward in life. Right? Even as renunciants, a lot of the day, we're either typing or publishing or traveling or preaching or meeting with people. So we all have our duties to perform. It's called naimatic duties. We all have our worldly duties. But some part of our day is sacred for developing our affectionate relationship, our mood of love, to adore something. And you find that, how can we have that love if we haven't made a loving relationship? So this brings us to the point of the development of real bhakti. That's why the start of bhakti is Guru Padashray. This is its own topic. What is the levels of Guru? Bhajan Guru, Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru, Vartma Pradarshak, and so forth. But ultimately, we have personalities that we're very fortunate, like our Srila Gurudev, like our Srila Swami Prabhupada, and our Guru Varga, our Guru Jan, and anyone who's following their footsteps properly and has love and affection for them. When we took sannyas, the Vaishnavas were saying, "Oh, Gurudev's so happy, Gurudev's so happy." Again and again, everyone was crying and weeping. Why? Gurudev's so happy. Why? Father wants good sons. Then the sons will carry on the tradition of the father. So really, we shouldn't think, I am the father, we should think I am the son. One day I may be a father, but now I'm a son. Right? Be a disciple before trying to be a guru. Be a disciple. And those who are real disciples, they can also be guru. Swami Prabhupada writes something very interesting in his purport in one of his lectures. He said, someone who is like a fool in front of their guru, they're also guru. This is a problem sometimes. We think, I know so much and I can challenge, but to really consider myself like a little baby and take shelter in the lap of my father, my parents, my mother, then I can progress. But the purpose of Krishna coming in the form, actually also Guru is the form of Krishna. Diksha Guru and Shiksha Guru is the Roop and Swarup of Krishna. It's written in Charitamrita like 101. Krishna, Guru Krishna Ruphan Sastra Praman. And Shiksha Guru Krishna ka Swarup. So Krishna appears in the form of Diksha and Shiksha, right? These are the first three stages of Bhakti. Guru Padashray, Krishna Dikshari Shikshanam. Take shelter of Guru and take Diksha and Shiksha. But Krishna expands and appears in that way. That's why he says, Shakshad Haritvena Samasta Sastre. Archayam, he says, Acharyam Mam Vijaniyam. Don't dishonor and disrespect the Guru, because know that he is my expansion, he is my form. Right? Because you can't see me and develop love for me, so I'll appear in that form and empower. Like there's different kinds of avatar, Shaktavesh avatar, Swayam avatar. So Guru is like Shaktavesh in one way. And there's different levels, whether it's Jiva Tattva or Sadhan Siddha or Sadhaka. But Krishna's power becomes infused there. Sarva Deva Maya Guru. All the transcendental divine qualities reside in that personality who is doing that dear task. Right? Kintu Prabhoya Eva Priyatasya. They're doing that very important service to Krishna that's very dear to him. Like he says in the Bhagavad Gita. Those who distribute my message are so dear to me. So we can develop affectionate relationship with those personalities. Now we can develop on the path of bhakti because we've found something that we can offer love to. So if we're fortunate to have like Brajabasi, Mahabhagavat Guru, otherwise in their line, footstep followers, anyone who's sincerely following them and sincerely practicing bhakti and advancing in bhakti, we take shelter of them. They can also lead us forward. Right? The question is, do they have love and devotion or not? Are they sincerely following or not? How are they practicing? Therefore, it's described that we should observe. Wait and observe 1 year. Guru, disciple, disciple, guru. Then you can adopt and follow. But we should have great respect there. Now, Shraddhaya Srimurtir Sevan, then we can worship these with faith. Now, there's one more thing we haven't mentioned yet. We're talking about bhakti in the West as householders. But Rupa Goswami said, Mathuravas. Reside in the Dham. Oh no, what to do? So that's why there's two sides of this. This isn't just an Indian religion, right? We learn this so often, hearing it from Srila Prabhupada and our Guru Varga. It's not an Indian religion. This is Sanatan Dharma, eternal, all time, all place, all circumstance. But yet we are instructed, stay in the Dham, Raga Korivas, it's said, Braja Korivas, Marana Kirtana Koro. Srila Rupa Goswami, what is the essence of all advice? Gurudev said this so many times. How many times? So many times. Right? How many times? So many. How many times have you heard it, Vrindavan? Right? See, he's nodding his head. He's done 40, now like 30 volumes of Gurudev's Katha, and we're up to 41. We had 10 done already. So how many times have you heard this verse? What's the verse? Loudly. He's on my sannyas waiting list. Loudly speak. This is the essence of all advice. I remember growing up, I didn't meet Gurudev till I was 9. And when I grew up, I never actually even had the idea of going to Vrindavan. It wasn't really part of our culture. oh, I should go to Vrindavan, at least once, go to Vrindavan. But when Gurudev came, the first thing he did, when he would preach, he would say, I'm inviting you all to Vrindavan. Come for Kartik, or come for Navadvip, come to Bengal, come to Mayapur. He invited us all, right? Not that we give up our responsibilities. If we're serving in the West, then we should serve. But we should aspire at least once in our life to go to Vrindavan. Why? Prabhupada would say, Vrindavan is my home. So what does it mean? We want to go home, back to Godhead. So really going to Vrindavan is an important aspect of our life. Right? And there's two sides, Tanama Rupa Charitari. In this verse, where Rupa Goswami says, this is the essence of all advice. Tishtan Braje, that anuragi. But how do you stay in Braj? Under guidance of those who are following Bhakti with this anurag, deep love and affection for Braj, for Krishna, for Srimati Radhika. So, Gurudev would say you can stay in Vrindavan by body, but if you're not there by heart and by body and by mind, then what's the use? And you can be in the West by body, but if you're in Vrindavan by heart and mind, then it's very glorious. Gurudev said, devotees practicing Bhakti in the West are like beautiful flowers blooming in the desert. So I'm so affectionate. He said, I'm more affectionate to those who are practicing Bhakti in the West than those who are practicing Bhakti in Vrindavan, where the situation is very favorable. I give more love and affection. They need more love and affection, so I give it. So we live in the West, we do as we have to, but we should try to develop attachment for the Dham. Navadvip, Vrindavan, Jagannath Puri especially. These three Dhams, Mahaprabhu's place and place of separation, Jagannath Puri, place of Mahaprabhu's eternal pastimes, Mayapur, Navadvip, and place of Radha Krishna's eternal pastimes, Vrindavan. So important. I remember ever since, right, when I grew up to the age of 9, I never even heard the idea that we should go to Vrindavan. When we met Gurudev, right, that same year, my father, why we thought, oh, this Maharaj will come, is he favorable or not? We'll just hear from him for 3 days and then everything will go back to normal. But instead, we heard 3 days, then the whole community, it's like we packed up our bags and went to San Francisco. And then from San Francisco, for like the next 15 years, it was like we're always on tour. Right? I remember my life was always revolving around school and waiting for Gurudev to come, and then when will we see him next? In Houston or in other places in America or in Vrindavan. My father is still paying off debt. Why? He took me in 96, when I was 9. He received Diksha, I received Harinam, and I asked Gurudev, why you gave him something extra? He got Diksha, I only got Harinam. They said, maybe I'll give you next year a new Braj. I said, I'm going to hold you to it. So next year, in 97, I got Diksha, and then my father made a vow. He said, I just brought my son. Next year, I'm bringing my whole family. He told Gurudev in Vrindavan, so you can't go against your word. Next year, all 5 of my sisters and myself, 8 of us. Why? Bhakti Visa helped, right? MasterCard. Right? Visa to India, you have to use Visa or MasterCard. But tickets, like 10,000 in tickets, then passports, visas, festival fees, taxis, travel, and what's the big expense? Lorry Bazaar fees. Right? Lorry Bazaar tax. Nice clothes. Now you go some shops, it's like they know. Oh, this is the shop where everyone comes to. It's like the, you go 2 shops over, you get everything half rate. But you don't get the label. That all-important label. Oh, you got it from this shop or that shop. But the point is, go to the Dham. How important it is to go to the Dham. And then you develop relationship with the Dham. Then when you're in the West, then you can also remember the Dham. And in your heart and mind, try to be in the Dham. That's what we try to follow. We should think. One thing Gokshadas Babaji Maharaj told Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, he said, never leave the Dham and never go to Calcutta. But first place he established a temple was Calcutta. So some people asked him, you're going against your Guru's order. You went to Calcutta, established a temple. He said, no, I'm not. I never left Brajapatan, means the branch office of Braj. Wherever I was with devotees doing kirtan and in temple life, serving the deities or traveling and preaching about Krishna. So wherever we are, we can practice bhakti, but developing relation with the Dham is a very important aspect of our devotional life. Right? Maybe not every year, but sometimes every 3-4 years, every 5-6 years. I know Prabhuji spent many years there. And then, so that relation you have can never go away. Those memories you have will never leave you. Right? It's not possible. And so even when you're at a distance, you can think with fondness and with love. Oh, those days, those times. Gurudev would say, when we would come to Kartik, he would say, when you go home, he would say, don't tell anyone how difficult it was. I remember, we would, in 96, were you there in 96, Kartik? We stayed in Dig, in Koshi, one night one place, 2 nights another place, Nandagram 4 or 5 days, Barshana. Those days were the sweetest. I remember one time, I don't know if it was the next year, I think it was in 97. I don't know if you went there also. My whole family was there, and it was pouring rain one night, and we're all outside in the tents. It was like a windstorm also. And a lot of devotees, maybe 500-600 Western devotees were outside. But we all came in that hall. Remember? Where was that? That was in Koshi, I think. Yeah, so we all went in a big hall, like 500-600 people, and we're just basically sleeping right up against each other, like sardines. And how sweet those times were. Mahaprasad, waiting in line for the Indian, bathrooms, waiting for a hand pump shower, But those times, I remember I was sleeping on the roof one time with my father, and the wind was so strong that the tent was rising up and down like a foot. But Gurudev was also, those days, Gurudev was himself walking in parikrama everywhere. And even before that, imagine when Gurudev went on Braj Mandal Parikrama for 60 years. Since the 40s, when he had joined, to 2010, Gurudev every year would go on Braj Mandal Parikrama over 60 years. He had so much love, he would go and offer pranam in the dust and embrace the trees. Gurudev would offer pranam to the trees. Imagine, going and offer pranam to the trees and embrace them and weep. So this is the mood of Braj. The mood of Braj is the mood of love and affection. So in spiritual life, in Bhakti, we shouldn't think this is like some chore. Oh, I'm supposed to do it. I'm supposed to chant, so I'll chant. I'm supposed to do this. It's like if you love someone, you're not supposed to love them, you just love them. Right? If you like some kind of food you really love to eat, you don't think it's a chore eating it. Like think of your favorite food. It's not a chore to eat it. You love to do it. So Bhakti, you should try to find that place that you realize Krishna is my only, right, Pran Priyatam, Shrimati Radhika, they're my Pran Priyatam, the life of my life. And therefore I should want to spend time with them. I say chanting japa is spending time with Radharani and Krishna. Right? Spend time with those you love. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. This is not material sound, this is spiritual sound. This is non-different from Radha Krishna. Their name, and the personification of the name, the possessor of the name is non-different. So spend some time and develop that love and affection, and then this will very easily help us cross over the world of samsara and suffering. And then very nicely we can live our life, tolerating all eventualities, whatever situation we're in. We can tolerate, we can follow, and in this way we can learn to honor all Vaishnavas. Amani manad hoy Krishna nam sadalabe, Braje Radha Krishna manasi seva koribe. Raghunath Das Swami, he asked for advice from Mahaprabhu for many, many times. Finally Mahaprabhu said, because he would mostly say, listen from Swarup Damodar, you are Swarupa Raghu. But finally Mahaprabhu gave him a few instructions. Bhaluna kaibo, bhaluna paribo, gramya na katana sunibe, gramya vartana kahibe, amani manad hoy Krishna nam sadalabe, Braje Radha Krishna manasi seva koribe. So when we go to the Dham by body, Vrindavan, these places, we develop some kind of understanding, and especially the deep mood of bhakti. Why not the superficial? Oh, there's dust and there's pigs and dogs and monkeys. What is the real Vrindavan? And therefore to see real Vrindavan comes through the sadhus, the devotees. That's why we say, Jaistan Vaishnav, Sestan Vrindavan. Where the real devotees are present, that is Vrindavan. They can give us darshan of Vrindavan. Therefore it's said, to see transcendental subjects, you must hear from a transcendental source, then you can see it in your heart. Yatet Shrutek Shita, Srimad Bhagavatam says. You should see through the ears if you want to see that which is transcendental. So we see that transcendental Vrindavan by hearing Harikatha from Vaishnavas. And then Gurudev would say, when you go back to the West, say everything was very nice, everything was very comfortable, I never got sick, right? I didn't get sick at all. I know these boys, first time. And in 30 days, maybe 18 days, he was sick, right? But those 12 days, we went on parikrama, it was very nice. And even half the days when you were sick, we went on parikrama, it was very nice. And after 2-3 times going, then you gradually learn how to maintain your body and you get less sick. But Gurudev would say, go home and tell everyone everything was very nice and you should come. Why? One time if we go to the Dham, our life is successful. So then, once we make that relationship, ultimately Mahaprabhu said the higher instruction. Krishna Nam Sadalabait, while chanting Krishna Nam, while honoring all others, without desiring respect, honor for yourself, Braje Radha Krishna Manasi Seva Koribe. This is something that isn't dependent on time and place. In your own heart, right? In your own Hriday Mandir, your heart temple, your heart kunj. Gurudev said, worship Seva Kunj. This Seva Kunj, we can go to Vrindavan and not see it. And we can be in our house and we can see it every moment. Or we can go to Vrindavan and see it. But Seva Kunj isn't limited to that place, like Rup Sanatan, there's a little Seva Kunj. That's the original Seva Kunj. Okay, we have to be there, otherwise we can't see Seva Kunj. No. Every home we can have Seva Kunj. And that is, our Guru Maharaj Swarup is there. Right? The last class, one of the last classes Prabhupada was giving in Vrindavan was saying, understand the Swarup of Guru, not just the external form of Guru, but what is his internal Swarup. And he said he revealed that for us in Seva Kunj. His painting is there. His own form is there. He said, that's me. So you meditate on that and develop that relationship, and that, once you establish that mood of love and affection, it very quickly pull you out of samsara. So gradually, that's why ultimately in life, we have to come to this point, we follow Shiksastakam. The 7th verse, there's a song Bhakti Thakur writes. Very beautiful song. I remember because I memorized all these songs while driving a rickshaw in Mathura. We had to collect water, sweet water for the devotees in the temple. And so every day I would drive a pedal rickshaw and load it up with about 300 liters of water, and we used it all day. And all the shopkeepers would make fun of me. Hi, Westerner, doing this suja work. I said, yeah, very good. It was nice exercise. I like doing it. Why? Nice exercise. And you get time to meditate or learn verses. So the Vaishnavas had me learn all the bhajans of all the Shastakam songs. So the 7th song is very nice. Ara jay sangsara more nahi lage balo kaha jay Krishna hari echinta vishalo. When will that time come that my consciousness is only absorbed in these thoughts? I no longer like this, you could say, all the fun and games of samsara. Bhaktivinoda Thakur described it to be like a carnival. We're playing in the carnival of samsara, material life. But Ar jay sangsara more nahi lage balo, I don't appreciate that anymore. Kaha jay Krishna hari echinta vishalo. My whole thoughts and mind is absorbed with this idea. Where can I find Krishna? So with this mentality, ultimately, we try to follow bhakti. But Mahaprabhu told Raghunatha Swami also, Ghare jao na hao batul. Don't be like a madman. Krame, gradually, sequentially, follow bhakti and you'll progress. So that's why we make some sacred time, some sacred space. That's why in our home we have some area that's nice and separate and just for bhakti. Even if it's a little, not even a whole room, but just, there's the altar space. 4 feet, 5 feet. And there we sit and we chant our Gayatri, we chant some Harinam. And develop friendships with devotees. Your partners, other devotees. Friendship is very important in life. Without friendship, your life becomes very dry. And what does it mean to have friendship? Someone you can talk to. You can express your problems without being afraid that they're going to judge you or share it everywhere. It's like, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that. Okay, we help each other forward. So, sorry for speaking so long. Didn't really know what to speak, but I thought maybe this would be something nice to meditate on. And Sadhu Sangha Nam Kirtan Bhagavat Shravan Mathura Shraddhaya Srimurti. I've been thinking about this one for a while. That Rupa Goswami said Mathura stay in Vrindavan. It means, it's described in this ashtra, even 3 days in the Dham completely liberates you. So that's why we make an effort, even 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, even a few moments. There's so many stories about how people went in even disease situations and, they got complete liberation. What liberation? Real liberation. Swarupena Vivastiti, establishing themselves in their spiritual reality, spiritual nature, spiritual relationship in Brajadam. So this is our ultimate home. When Prabhupada said back home, back to Godhead, he wasn't talking about the different lokas. He was talking about Goloka, the spiritual abode of Krishna. So if we don't go to his Prakrit Dham, how can we go to his Aprakrit Dham? By going to his manifest Dham, Then we can develop relationship and meditate upon his transcendental Dham. And then we can follow Manasi Seva, and wherever we are, we can be in Vrindavan. Pitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo.
Holland, South India, North India, Hungary,
America.
You English, bro.
Hackney.
That's a country in itself.
It's a local.
There's lots of personality. Okay, I learned many things about Maharaj today. One of them, as they say in cricket, he's very much an all-rounder. He's not only playing mridanga, he's leading a kirtan, he's giving a lecture, also he is cooking. But if you look here, this is what he has produced. Many, many years of Maharaj working hard in Vrindavan for Srila Gurudev. This is his output.
Yeah.
Very talented.
Chala, should we do a concluding kirtan?
Yeah, no chance.